Okay, hi there and welcome. Mr. Osborne here, and video is a little bit different than most of the videos I post because of what I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over error logs. For sixth grade, this is new, but error logs are used not only in Math A and Math B, but also in Math C and in other classes as well. So let's get started. What are error logs? So error logs are learning opportunities. Specifically, they're a chance to review and correct mistakes that are made on tests. And there was a recent test, and we're following up. The test isn't over just because the test is done. We're going to go back and try and learn from it. So the first thing to be clear about filling out error log are the two different types of errors that, that are made. These are groups of errors, and these fall into two categories. The first one is pretty straightforward to understand. We call these slips. Slips are careless mistakes. You see 2 times 3, and instead you put 5 down. Your brain momentarily thinks, oh, you put down an answer for an adding problem, which you've been multiplying. That's common stuff that we all do. But slips do not prevent you from understanding what the problem was originally asking, which is different from the second kind of error, a bug. So bugs are where there's some kind of genuine misunderstanding. And what makes a bug really depends on the student, the particular problem. Things that could be bugs might be, sort of method of solving is not done. They're not understood. Method of getting an answer. Something else that might be, besides method for getting an answer, sometimes notation, just math notation sometimes could be problematic. How do you read that? Vocabulary, if a student is stuck on a particular vocabulary term, they're uncertain. Sometimes there's a lot of bugs that go between reading a context and then applying the correct math. This is not a complete list. The point to be made here is that bugs are those kind of problems where there's some kind of genuine misunderstanding going on, which is different than just making a careless mistake. Okay, so how we proceed? What we're going to do is I'm going to use a sample question from the recent practice test. So here's this problem right here, and it's been scored. That's a 1 out of 3, so not all the points were earned. And so there's something up with this problem. So I'll work through this problem and use the error log, which brings us, okay, so what does this error log look like? Well, it looks something like this. Sometimes they get edited slightly, but there's a place to put a problem number and a brief description of the original problem, the original incorrect answer. Then these next spaces are quite important. So if I was to go back and correctly do it, what would that work look like? The student identifies what was the error that was made, a slip or was it a bug? And then there's a chance for them to reflect, well, if it was a slip, how did that come about? Why did they make the slip? If it's a bug, to describe what's the math help that's needed. So let's look at this given problem and we'll try to put it together. So the problem looks like this. A bunch of musicians got together for a big jam session. There were 18 drummers and 21 guitar players. Write the ratio of the number of guitar players to number of drummers as a fraction in simplest form. So there's the problem, and here some students done this work here. They put 18 over 21. So yeah, because there's 18 drummers and there's 21 guitar players. And look, they even show that they did some work here. They divided by 3 and they simplified. And so clearly the student understands, how you simplify a fraction. And for that, there are some points earned. And they even went on to say for every 6 drummers, there are 7 guitar players. But this isn't right. At least it's not completely right. So let's go back and let's use the error log applied to this problem. So the first thing I want to do is I want to write down the problem number. So this is problem number 2. So I'll put in number 2. And I don't know, we shouldn't have to expect that you write all this down. That's not necessary. Well, let's get the details down so we know what the problem is. So there was 18 drummers. Okay. There's 21 guitar players. Guitarists, how about that? And then what does it say to do in the problem? It says, write a ratio. Okay, so I'm going to write a ratio of the number of guitar players to drummers. So I have to write a ratio, so I'm going to write ratio. Guitar players, how about I just do GP, guitar players to drummers. Now I notice here on this work that this person did is they didn't write any words down for what these numbers mean. And that's oftentimes where some mistakes often begin. So they originally put down 6/7, right? But that's wrong. So let's piece this together now. So what kind of went wrong? Well, according to this, I have to write a ratio, and that certainly is a ratio, of guitar players to drummers. So now so if we went back and look what this person did, they did, so they 18, see they got it backwards. They did drummers, so I'll put it's the D for drummers and the GP for guitar players. When the ratio asked for guitar players to drummers. So let's do this as a first step. If I want to go back and show this correctly, I'm not going to worry about numbers. I'm going to first worry about the ratio. And the ratio is guitar players to drummers. Right? So that's what the ratio is asking for. Because what's to the left of the word to, this is my keyword to tell me what's on top of the fraction from what's on bottom of the fraction. Well, now that I have the words in place, let's plug in the numbers. So that means there were 21 guitar players to 18 drummers. So it looks like this person just simply got this flipped around incorrectly. Because the simplifying will look the same way. And we'd have 7/6 is my answer. So there's my corrected response, 7/6, as opposed to 6/7. So what kind of an error was this? Well, it depends. The type of error depends on how the student was engaged with the problem. Well, let's say for benefit to make things simple here, the person like, I can't believe it. I put these in the wrong order. I wasn't paying attention. So for me, in this case, this might be a slip. Now the question I could ask is, okay, so it was a slip. Well, why might the slip have happened? If a slip, explain the error. So I accidentally put the numbers in the wrong spot. Put the numbers of the ratio in the wrong place. Because I understand that the number to the left of 2 goes on top of the fraction. So for this person, it might be a slip. They just got careless with the reading. And here's one possible response, is they just accidentally flip things over. And the fact that the person wrote here the number to the left of 2, when we were looking at this right here, goes on top, is communicating that they understand that the guitar players really did belong on top of the fraction. So, this error log, which we did here, so this person right here, they would earn back points. Why? Because they did the problem correctly. They set it up, they showed the work, and they've got a new answer, which is different from the original answer. They identified the type of error, and they put some kind of explanation for what went wrong. So this little video here, to remind us what we started with, this was an exercise in understanding what error logs are. So This form is the error log and how it's communicated. That there's two types of errors, slips and bugs, and the students need to go back through and correct things and show the work. So earning the points, the extra points, requires that they show how you get the answers. Show the work. Show the work and comment here. This is where the student demonstrates that they're thinking about the problem. Well, I realize this video is a little bit longer than most, but this is a different kind of task that's been asked of students. But with practice, we will be doing these again. But this is a great way for students to earn back test points. Hope this helps.